To sailing, and the Wenham family's love affair with the Sydney to Hobart race began nearly 40 years ago. Since then, 3 generations have made the start line. In tonight's special feature, we take a look at the father and son partnership preparing to tackle the high seas.
Nearly 4 decades ago, a father and son embarked on their first Sydney to Hobart.
The long offshore racing that we did together over many, many years certainly formed a strong bond. There's no doubt about that at all.
Paul and Andrew Wenham shared their first Blue Water Classic in the 70s. 3 years ago, it was Andrew's turn to baptise his son David with a brutal Bass Strait crossing.
He's the future, we're the midstream, and I'm a bit upstream.
This Boxing Day departure will mark the 37-year anniversary of the first Wenham father-son journey to Constitution Dock.
Obviously, you want to be on it, but we enjoy watching minute by minute wherever they are.
Unfortunately, he can't still do a Hobart, but he's there in spirit, and if we win, I'm sure he'll fly down and meet us for a wet one.
With 3 generations hooked, it's a love affair that won't change tack in a hurry.
I think it's fantastic that we can continue to do the race together, and I look forward to doing many more of the races with him.
That said, as with any father and son, there have been testing moments.
Absolutely, but everything stays on the boat. As soon as you get back onto dry land, everything's fine. It's just family as usual.
Yeah, dry land's okay. The wet stuff's not so good. I work up the front of the boat. It's hard for him to yell 70 feet, I suppose, so yeah, we just get on with our business up here and they can work out the rest.
Whatever happens on board, the Wenhams will hopefully disembark Southern Excellence 2, closer to line honours and, more importantly, as a family than ever before. Nick Vinden, World News Australia.
And for all the latest news and more on the Sydney to Hobart, log on to World News Australia.
SBS reporter Nick Vinden will be on board one of the entrants this year. A short time ago, he filed this report from the Racing Yacht Club in Sydney.
Leland, in terms of last-minute preparations, I can say that we've been giving our costumes a bit of a workout here, and I'm happy to say I'm keeping nice and dry. But for the more important stuff, I'm joined by Southern Excellence 2 skipper Andrew Wenham, the man who's kindly welcomed SBS on board. And Andrew, this rain, what are we expecting for the start? More of the same?
I think you'll get more of the same in the morning. Light showers, easing by mid-morning to up until the start time of 1 p.m. But we've got the wind to contend with, and that's the most important issue. We've got southerlies coming in tomorrow, 20 to 25 knots, which will increase offshore 30 to 35 is projected. And that will certainly sort us out, which means a great start, down the harbour start, out the heads, of course, and we'll probably go 8 to 10 miles out without telling the others where we're going first. But and then we take a long tack south, and then we hand it over to the navigator from there and see where he wants to take us.
Fantastic. Well, we can't give too much of the strategy away, but you were hinting off camera before that we can expect a bit of a wet and wild start. Can you go into a bit more details? I'm sure our viewers would love to know how hairy it's going to get out there.
I think what you're going to find is that it's going to be quite interesting at the start because of the nor'east swell at the moment. Tomorrow you'll have a southerly swell. It's going to be very mixed swell. You're getting strong winds tomorrow, which will certainly sort the bigger boats out from the smaller boats and the lighter boats. The Volvo 70s, of course, are built to go around the world, so they're made for this sort of race. They're made for that sort of condition, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Oh, it's good to know Southern Excellence 2 is prepared for a battering. Hopefully we don't encounter too much of that. But you were saying it might get a bit hairy down towards Tasmania. Tell me a bit more about that.
Down towards Tasmania on Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, we'll certainly run into a very strong southwesterly storm. And it's projected to be somewhere between 30 and 40 knots, which is quite wild. We experienced similar conditions last year, and you do get a very big swell across Storm Bay, which makes it very interesting to before the run up to the finish. Yeah.
Well, the rains are coming down now, and I'm certainly feeling like this is good preparation for me. Obviously, thanks so much for having me on board, Andrew, on board Southern Excellence 2. How have I gone so far, and what's the crew think of me?
Oh, I think you're doing very well so far, but quite honestly, we've got private bets that you probably won't last till Bondi, and the bets are looking good at this stage.
Oh, dear me. Hopefully it's not as tricky on the boat as it is here on the dock. Leland, really looking forward to the opportunity. Of course, our viewers can follow every step of the way nightly on World News Australia and also online at SBS News.
And Nick Vinden will be filing from the high seas tomorrow night.
And SBS's Nick Vinden is part of the action, reporting from Southern Excellence 2, currently in 8th spot.
The rain stayed away and the sunshine came out for the start of the 69th Blue Water Classic. A field of 94 lined up at the start line, although that was soon reduced by one with the retirement of Audi's Sunshine Coast due to a damaged rig. 1997 line honours winner Brenda Bella broke the line early and was punished for that. While further towards the front, Wild Oats 11 and Perpetual Loyal were involved in their usual skirmish. Shalila Medora has more.
The skipper of the Southern Excellence 2 wants his yacht to be one of the top handicap chances.
We would hope to be in the top 10 over the finish line, and we are looking forward to top 5 position on handicap.
On board, novice sailor and SBS sport reporter Nick Vinden. His hopes for the voyage are more personal.
Well, I'll be strapped in, I'll be holding on to everything for dear life, and I'll be trying to make it back to the newsroom in one piece.
Of concern, reports that the weather may turn nasty this weekend. Entrants have been warned they could face gale force winds of up to 60 knots and waves of up to 12 metres after the weather turns.
SBS reporter Nick Vinden has given us a first-hand account of race conditions from on board contender Southern Excellence 2.
Well, thankfully, so far I'm holding up pretty well. Less than 10% into the race so far, so it's still very much early days. It's been a very busy morning, lots of activity already, plenty of sail changes, plenty of running about the boat. As you can probably still see, it is still t-shirt weather, which is very good, and the sun is still beating down as we make our way south. Predicting for colder conditions to obviously kick in tonight, which will mean more layers will come on, but hopefully the swell stays down. It's been a dream run so far. The crew and I are having a great time aboard Southern Excellence 2, making great progress against some tricky racing conditions already. But as I said, with the sun out, couldn't think of a better place to be on the side of the rail, gliding our way towards Hobart. It's certainly been a blast so far, and hopefully it's more of the same.
He's enjoying himself for now.
For the Southern Excellence 2, the night wasn't so successful. The bad weather and other factors causing the yacht to drop from 8th place down to 35th.
This boat's not really made for these sort of conditions that we got last night.
But the crew is confident it can step up the pace.
I think we'll claw back a lot of these boats that got through us last night, and a lot of the smaller ones that shouldn't be there.
With a little bit of wind, the boat's got some sort of potential, and we're actually hoping to do a little bit better this afternoon.
And for extended coverage of our reporter Nick Vinden, Sydney to Hobart Adventures aboard the Southern Excellence 2, please go to our website.
SBS correspondent Nick Vinden is aboard Southern Excellence 2.
It's been an absolute monster day so far. We've covered more than 600 kilometres, which included a crossing of Bass Strait, doing about 35 kilometres an hour. We were really motoring there. It felt like we were in a Formula One race car. It was really exciting.
Tough weather conditions at sea have taken their toll, forcing several boats out of the race. SBS reporter Nick Vinden has been travelling on the Southern Excellence 2.
Wild Oats 11 has confirmed her status as one of the premier offshore racing yachts in Australia after securing victory number 7 in this year's Sydney to Hobart. While Mark Richards and his crew were celebrating here at Constitution Dock, it was a vastly different scenario facing the remaining members of the fleet. As Wild Oats 11 relished back-to-back triumphs, the remainder of the fleet was under fire. The winds were gusting at gale force speed for the third night at sea for this year's Sydney to Hobart entrance. Helmsmen faced the most difficult of tasks, steering their crew and craft safely through violently surging seas.
Very hairy. I mean, they were very short, steep swells, 4 to 5 metres with no back on the back of the swell, and very sharp between the two swells, and it makes it very dangerous for yachts.
The conditions in Bass Strait and Storm Bay so treacherous they've drawn comparisons with the 1998 race, which produced 6 casualties.
And I think it gets to that point in those conditions where it's not about racing anymore, it's about boat maintenance, crew safety and finishing the race.
As these pictures show, the crew aboard Southern Excellence 2 managed to escape the carnage, finishing in 12th place overall. Other boats not so lucky. Highly favoured Wedgetail lost its mast and was forced to retire, just one of many to succumb to the testing weather. Victorian Entry Rush, diverting after a crew member broke his leg. Despite the treacherous conditions, the sailors are expected to be back in record numbers for the Blue Water Classic's 70th birthday celebrations next year.
It was quite ferocious, and we put this boat through its paces, and it went so fast. It was just astounding.
And of course, the race's contemporary star will be there too.
It is. It's extremely satisfying, and as I said, to push a boat like this around the racetrack after 9 years and still be getting results like this is just an indication of how much of a fantastic boat it really is.
You have to come back next year now, no doubt?
Of course, of course.
Bob Oatley's already thrown his hat in the ring for another tilt at the race next year, but after 71 hours at sea, I'm not sure if I'm ready to back up just yet. What do you think, guys? Yeah! Maybe I am then. Nick Vindon, World News Australia.
And there you are, Nick, in Hobart. You're watching World News Australia on SBS.